Folks, some sellers are reaching the end of their runway. I'll get into that and then the latest home prices and insights for the city of Toronto for week ending September 11th, 2024. This is such an interesting market. We've seen, and now we're heading into the fall market, and we've already seen, just in the first couple of weeks, a ton of new listings. I'll get into the actual numbers once we start the numbers part of this show, but let me tell you, sellers have come to the table. They're ready. They're out there. A bunch of new listings. I'm going to kind of split the sellers up into two types of sellers. One type of seller, they'd be selling now no matter what. It has nothing to do with what the interest rates are. It has nothing to do with what the economy is doing. It has everything to do with their personal position in life. Maybe they calculated a few years ago that once our kids are out of kindergarten, they start grade school, we're going to move into a bigger home and we're going to be there through grade school and high school. And they're looking for that bigger home they could be at for the next 10, 15 years or so. Then there's the other seller who's going the opposite way. Their plan was to retire this year, and they've decided years ago that when they retire, they're going to downsize. Well, that time is now. And so it doesn't matter what's going on with interest rates. They'd be selling now anyways. The other seller is motivated more by the financial side of things, meaning they have a financial problem. They absolutely need to sell. Maybe they've been getting beat up because of the interest rates, the way they climbed, and maybe they over leveraged and bought a second property and they can't keep both, or maybe they're cash flow negative on another property and they just can't afford it. Maybe somebody lost their job because of the economic times that we're in right now, and they just can't afford to keep their home. It's a financial problem for them. And so they absolutely have to sell. And they've tried, many of them. They've tried to sell over the course of the spring and the summer, and they've been holding on to their price. They haven't been dropping their price to get that sale, but they're running out of time. They're running out of runway. And the hope and expectations for this fall market are really high for these people. When I talk about running out of runway, what I'm getting at is seasonally, we see an uptick in volume in the fall. We don't know how long that's going to last. 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 1 week, and then it's kind of downhill till Christmas. Well, after that, it's going to be again, the next uptick, if we talk about seasonal trends, is going to be in the spring again. Now, is the spring going to start in February, March, April, May? Because we've got, through history, we've seen it start at different months. Well, potentially, it could be 4 or 5 months from now, from the fall season, where the next uptick is. So there's a lot of sellers that can't wait that long. They absolutely have to have the sale right now. What really makes it interesting is that seller who has a financial problem that is running out of runway, they will be prepared to drop their price. But just down the street is the other type of seller that, if I sell now, great. If I don't, that's okay too. I don't mind waiting. They don't have that pressure. And everybody's mixed in the same market. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens, because the mindsets of these two sellers are very different. And on top of all that, they're on the market, ready to sell. They've opened their doors, say, come in. Buyers have not come to the table yet. We'll see. Are they just waiting in the next few weeks? We're going to see those sales that everybody expects, or are the sales not going to be there? We'll see. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you feel this video can help somebody you know, please pass it along. If you get value from what we're talking about, subscribe. And if you want to speak with me about your real estate situation, selling, buying, it's really easy. Up here, there's a link to my calendar. Below this video in the description, there's a link to my calendar. Click on that, book a time that's convenient for you, and we'll talk about whatever's on your mind. Now, let's get into the numbers. We have 2 semi-detached properties for sale. Both are in South Etobicoke in Alderwood. Now these were just finished. There's the main living area above grade and a finished basement apartment, a legal basement apartment. Have a look at one of them at the end of this video. Let's get started. Now before I get into the normal part of this show where I break the numbers down weekly, I've got some monthly numbers for you here. Now this goes back several years. We're focused only on Toronto for this chart, City of Toronto only, detached properties only. Here's August 2024, and we go all the way back to, well, I've got August 2020 here. So we're going back several years, from 2024 to 2020. There's a few things I want to talk about. Now, normally when I break these down weekly, this data weekly, which I will shortly, there's a lot more fluctuations when you look at weekly data. And from time to time, many of you will ask, you want to see the numbers monthly. Well, that's what I have here for you, going back to 2020. Let's first look at the sales. I want to show you some patterns. Well, August 2024, I've got every August going back, 2022, 2021, 2020, I've got them highlighted in black. And if we look at the sales, August is most often than not, outside of December and January, August normally has the lowest sales. And at some point during the year, sales peak in the spring sometime and they go downhill to August, right? So this year, they peaked in May, downhill to August. The year before, 2023, sales peaked in May as well, downhill to August 2023 there. But the previous year, 2022, sales peaked in March, downhill. Sales peaked in March in 2021, downhill. And as far as 2020 goes, that's the year where, hey, everybody stay home. Remember that announcement? So let's not really look at those sales. Everything got messed up over there. But typically, this is very typical of the calendar year. At some point during the spring, there's a peak in sales, and then it's all downhill to August. And then we see an uptick somewhere along the way, September, October, and then it's downhill to Christmas. That is a typical seasonal market trend. We see it every year. This is where we are now. Let's look at pricing now. For average sold price for August 2024, the last full month that finished, average sold price is just under 1.7 million. It's 1,692,000. Now, if we compare to the peak was somewhere March 2020. I have the highest average price here of 2,075,000, and then just below it 1.9, 1.8. So let's just say we peaked somewhere around 2 million. We are currently, but that's in 2022, we are currently 15.4% lower than the peak price. Now, August is also typical, one of the lowest price points of the year. You see it here, August, 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 and also this year, August, previous year, August 2023, one of the lower price points of the year as far as average sold prices go. So that's another observation there. And if we look at comparing to the previous years, well, if we compare to last year, August 2023, we're only 3.4% lower than where we were this time a year ago. We can go back further. If we go to 2021, we're less than 1% lower than where we were in 2021. If we go to 2020, we are about 11, 12% lower than where we were 2020 prices. Now, the reason I'm bringing up those percentages, they're not that high, are they? We get caught up with, oh, the market is down, prices are down. They haven't changed that much. If we compare to 2020, we are down 12.3% from 2020 prices. So it hasn't really changed dramatically. So I do want to point out one last observation. Each time we look through the years at where we've had, and I've put a star, where we've peaked in prices each year, it's also been the time of the year where we've peaked in sales. So the highest sales happen to be the time of the year where we have the highest prices, or vice versa. The highest prices are when we have the most amount of sales. I'm saying that because lots of people have this attitude of, or buyers have the attitude of, I want to buy at the bottom of the market. I want to buy when prices are the lowest. Well, when prices are the lowest, that's also when we have the fewest sales. I shouldn't say nobody, but fewer buyers are buying when prices are low. Many more buyers are buying when prices are high. Sounds crazy, doesn't it? But it's true. This is 5 years. Our highest amount of sales correlate to the highest prices. When prices are down and you figure, wow, prices are lower, that's when buyers should be tripping over themselves to buy. It's the lowest prices. Fewer buyers are actually buying when prices are down. But as prices start to swing up, buyers get on board, prices go up even higher, even more buyers buy. That's an observation. It's a fact. Here it is. That's the monthly summary going back to 2020. Months of inventory for month ending August 2024, sitting at 3.7. February, March was the lowest this year that we had months of inventory, 1.4, 1.3. And every month since then, April, May, June, July, August, months of inventory has been increasing. That's our monthly summary. Let's get into our regular programming, breaking down these numbers weekly for week ending September 11th. Here's a summary of average sold prices. I've got detached, towns and semis, and condos down here. These are condo apartments, and that's the last you're going to hear about condo apartments on this show. Condos is a whole other show, but I do put it on the board here for reference. Tomorrow's show is about condo apartments. So we're going to start off with detached properties for week ending September 11th. 107 detached properties were sold. Now, September 11th is the second week past. We're past Labor Day now. We're past August. We're past Labor Day. We're into the fall market, and we see an uptick in sales. 107 detached properties were sold. 19 of those were at $2 million or more. Average sold price up a bit from the previous week to $1,573,000. 1,573 is 3% lower than where we were this time a year ago. The median price is 9% lower than where we were this time a year ago. And if we look at basically middle of July to the end of, to where we are now, to September, prices, average prices, haven't changed that much. So median price hasn't changed much. Average price hasn't changed much, and I'm looking at the dotted line, the 4-week moving average, to kind of show me where that line is. Not a lot of changes in prices. 107 were sold. 47% were sold at list price or more. That percentage is up from the previous few weeks. Now, before that, this chart here is for 3 months. We were in the 50s selling, the 50 percentile selling at list price or more. That percentage has come down, and over the last few weeks, it's kind of hard to figure out where it's going to be at, but right now we're at 47%. Listings is the real story here. Tons of expectations for the fall market. You could see it from the sellers. Lots of listings have come onto market. Previous week ending September 4th, 311 were listed. The week before that, the last week of August, 170 were listed. But this week, for week ending September 11th, 636 detached properties were listed. This chart goes back 3 months. There's been no stronger month. I did a bit of research in getting all this show together. I went back 6 years. I couldn't find a week. Now, maybe there is, but in 6 years, I've not seen a week where we had more listings in a single week. So 636 were listed. Active listings jumped up. It's now sitting at 1,936 detached properties available for sale. Months of inventory sitting at 4.2 months of inventory. Months of inventory has been climbing. Average sold price was 1.7 to 1.8. Now average sold price is sitting 1.5 to high 1.5. As months of inventory goes up, average prices tend to come down. That's Toronto as a whole. If we break Toronto down into 9 different sections and we say 4.2 months of inventory for the whole city, well, look at some of the different neighborhoods here. Scarborough, 52%, more than half sold at list price or more, 3.1 months of inventory. High Park, 2.4 months of inventory, 63% sold at list price or more. This area is very competitive. Etobicoke, 3.5 months of inventory, 39% sold at list price or more. Then you got some of the other areas here. York Mills, Rosedale, 7.4 months of inventory, much higher than the other parts of the city. A third sell at list price or more. Average sold price there is close to 3.7 million. Willowdale, Bayview Village area, 8.7 months of inventory. Semi-detached, 47 semi-detached properties were sold. That's a huge jump from sales that we've seen over the last 2 months. 47 were sold in a single week. 10 of those were at $1.5 million or more. Average sold price is $1,209,000. 1209 is 13% lower year over year. The median price of $1,090,000 is 9% lower year over year. And months of inventory way down at 1.8 months of inventory. 45% of the semis that sold at list price or more. Townhouses, 13 townhouses were sold. These are freehold townhouses. 2 were at 1.5 million or more. 1,262,000 is the average sold price. Compared to last year, that's 6% higher. The median price of 1.4, that's the median price, is 12% higher year over year. And months of inventory sitting at 3.8 months of inventory. Here's a summary of months of inventory: detached, semis, towns. In most cases, you're going to be experience a balanced market. But things are a little bit, I don't know, they're a little bit changing out there right now. There's a lot of expectations for the fall market. We will see what happens. Sellers are out there. Sales in some areas, yeah, sales jumped up, but not like listings. Listings are way up there. Let's see if the buyers show up to the party. Thanks for watching. Have an awesome day. Check out the video now, this awesome semi that's for sale. We have 2 custom designed semi-detached properties. We're in Alderwood, South Etobicoke. These semi-detached come with a legal secondary suite. Let me show you 223 Hallmark Avenue.